I took custody of my niece after she torched her stepmom at birthday dinner, and my brother wants me to ruin her life until she apologizes. In June of this year, my niece Abby, 15, came to live with me, 28 male, and I became her legal guardian alongside my partner. My brother is her father. Abby's mom died when she was 9, and my brother remarried when she was 11. Abby was never very happy about my brother's remarriage or my sister-in-law. It was clear to everyone, and mostly she just ignored her stepmother, but there were outbursts here and there when her stepmother tried to parent her. I'm not dressing it up. The way it all blew up wasn't subtle or complicated. Sister-in-law's birthday is in May, and my brother threw her a family dinner. He asked Abby to write a card and hand over a gift he bought from her. Abby wrote the card. Abby handed the gift. Then Abby torched the room. I can't quote the speech verbatim because I was too busy watching my brother's face drain like someone pulled the plug, but this is the gist. She told sister-in-law she hated her, that she never wanted her to marry her dad, that she wasn't as good as her mom, that she was ugly, her clothes were ugly, her throw pillows were ugly, the shit she brought into the house looked like it fell off a clearance rack nobody wanted. Her food sucked, and Abby's mom's cooking had actually gotten compliments. That $1 million of sister-in-law wouldn't be worth half her mom. That she was glad sister-in-law and my brother couldn't have kids, and she hoped every pregnancy failed. That she'd never love her, never accept her, never want her around. That she'd be thrilled when they divorced because her mom, not the stepmom, was the love of my brother's life. There were attempts to stop her. They didn't work. My brother tried the firm voice. Sister-in-law said, "Abigail, that's enough." Abby said, "No, you made me give you something, so I'm giving you everything." She kept reading. She kept talking. Nobody stood up. Nobody knew what the hell to do. It lasted maybe, 3 minutes? Felt like hours. When she was done, she folded the card like it was a napkin and put it in front of sister-in-law's plate. Then she sat, stared at the table, and started shaking. Not crying, just vibrating with anger. Dinner died. The cake looked wrong on the counter. I took a picture of my brother's hands because he had them flat on the table like he was trying not to flip it. When he finally spoke, he said, "Apologize," and Abby stared at the salt shaker like it might save her and said, "No." That's the scene people want to skip to the moral part of like what a monster or poor kid she's grieving. I get why, but I'm telling you, it didn't come out of nowhere. It's 2 years of little stupid things and 100 big ones shoved in a drawer until it won't close. I saw it all from the bleachers. My brother remarried quick. Not reckless quick, but quick enough that Abby still had boxes labeled mom's sweater sitting under her bed when a woman she barely knew started asking, "What time do you need to be home?" And "Please don't leave the wet towel on the floor." Normal stuff. Honest attempts at parenting. But in Abby's head, every please and every be home by bounced off a shrine. There were other flare-ups. The Thanksgiving after the wedding, sister-in-law tried to organize who brings what. Abby said she could make her mom's sweet potatoes if they gave her the recipe card. And sister-in-law said maybe do a salad instead, because your mom's recipe is very heavy and my family watches sugar. I'm pretty sure sister-in-law meant nothing by that beyond trying to be thoughtful. Abby ballistic whispered, "Don't ever talk about my mom's food like that," and slammed a cabinet. Christmas, sister-in-law bought Abby a sweater. Abby didn't touch the box. New Year's, sister-in-law asked her to take a photo with her and dad. Abby left the room. 4 report cards, sister-in-law put them on the fridge with those little gold star magnets. Abby took hers down and hid it behind the microwave because she doesn't get to display me. Other kids rebel with piercings. Abby rebelled with invisible lines only she could see. My brother tried to keep all the plates spinning. New marriage, traumatized kid, mortgage job. He is not an evil guy. He is not stupid. He believes in speed. Like if he keeps jogging through discomfort, eventually the road evens out. So he added family dinners and game night, and a chore wheel and a therapist number to a life admin spreadsheet. He said, "We're a team," until he was hoarse. But the second sister-in-law passed from guest adult to actual parent voice. Abby would ice her out or take it personal. Sister-in-law responded by doing what I've seen 3 million step-parents do. She tightened up and went more formal, which makes a teenager feel like a suspect in their own house. Then May happened. After the birthday, my brother put her on a therapy wait list, grounded her, killed her phone for a week, took the door off her hinges for 2 days. Stupid idea. He put it back. He tried to talk, tried therapy workbooks, tried that half-corny I statement stuff. I feel hurt when he told her to apologize. He told her she didn't have to mean it, but she had to say it, which is honestly the worst thing you can tell a kid who thinks your wife is replacing her mother. She said, "So you want me to lie?" He said, "I want you to be decent." She said, "Decent would be not making me hand your wife the birthday present you bought her for me." He called me at midnight the second week. "I can't do this," he said. "I'm trying, and she's so cruel." He was on the porch. I could hear cars. I didn't make it worse by pointing out he'd put the girl in a no-win with that card. I said, "What do you need?" He said, "I need her out of the house. Not forever. Just a break. It's like she's trying to break my marriage." He lowered his voice, and after what she said about the baby thing, T can't breathe around her. I said I'd take Abby. My partner, Alex, was in the doorway shaking their head like we're saying yes, right? We were. With a condition. If this was more than a week or two, we need guardianship, not babysitting. Consistency. Authority. "No," she said, "I can't, so I'll ask you." He agreed too fast. I think he believed a summer away would make Abby miss home and fall back in line. Or maybe he only believed in stopping the bleeding. Abby moved in with us in June. She arrived with one suitcase and a duffel and a grocery bag that clinked. The clink was picture frames, all of her mom. The way she handled them, you'd think glass could bruise. Our guest room has a queen bed and a map of the world and a plant we keep killing and replacing. She set the frames on the dresser, sat on the floor, and said, "Do I have to call you a guardian?" I said, "Only on official forms." Alex ordered pizza because that's what you do when you don't know how to talk. Abby ate 2 slices and then went very still and said, "I meant what I said. I'm not taking it back because it made them cry." She stared at the knob on our bedroom door like she thought there'd be a camera behind it. She wasn't defiant in that moment. She was a kid telling you where the landmines are. We got her a therapist. Not eventually, right away. Private, because the school wait list was months, and I don't believe in letting grief ferment in the cheap seats. The therapist, a woman in her 40s named Brenna, with the kind of practical shoes people who are on their feet all day wear, didn't ask Abby to perform remorse the first session. She asked Abby to retell the birthday. Abby said, "I didn't perform anything. I said it because it was true." Brenna didn't flinch. After that session, she pulled me aside. If your brother wants an apology more than he wants Abby to actually work through the grief, he's not going to get either. You can ground a kid for 20 years, and all you teach them is how to wait you out. I told my brother that. He said, "So what? She gets to be a jerk without consequences?" I said, "She has consequences." She moved out of her home. Abby slept like someone was pushing on her chest. I know because I walked down the hall at night and listen. I'm that kind of anxious. She'd wake at 3, use the bathroom, stand in the doorway of our room without coming in, then go back. She lost 5 pounds in the first 2 weeks and then gained it back when she figured out how much Alex overcooked pasta. She put the frames on the dresser and one on the nightstand and one in the bathroom, like she wanted to catch her mom's eye in the mirror. On the second weekend, she asked if she could repaint the guest room wall. Alex said yes. They took her to the hardware store, and she picked this blue-gray that looked like the weather when it's about to rain, but the air still smells clean. She rolled it on in slow, high strokes like she was writing a letter across the drywall. When she needed a step stool, she refused to call for help. She just dragged a chair and climbed. The first real smile I saw from her was when we pulled the tape and the line was straight. We let her be a teenager, not in a kids these days way, in a practical way. She went to movies. She went to a friend's bonfire. She FaceTimed at midnight and did the thing where she whispered because she didn't want us to hear, even though she knew we could. We told her, "Text us where you are. Be home at 11. If you're late, it better be for a reason like a broken bus or a friend crying." We took her to the DMV to renew her permit. We said therapy every week, non-negotiable. She played music too loud in the shower and used Alex's expensive shampoo, and I bitched because I'm 30 and have opinions about hair products, and she rolled her eyes and bought a cheap bottle the next day. Teenager stuff. There were moments you could see the thin wire of anger running from her spine to her teeth. Like, we made tacos, and she chopped cilantro with this intensity that made me ask if she wanted to talk about something. She said, "Do not put sour cream on mine," and it wasn't about sour cream. Like, the first time my brother came over alone to see her, she stood by the window until his car parked. Then she sat on the couch, so stiff you'd think sitting was punishment. He hugged her. She let him do it like he was a coat being put on a hanger. He asked if she wanted to stop by the house. Tea will be out. And she said, no, she didn't say sister-in-law's name. She erased it. Later, I asked if she ever called her mom. She grimaced. I called her by her name twice. She asked me not to. I told her I could call her you if that helps. That's Abby. Sharp and sometimes cruel and very clear. My brother didn't like that we didn't turn our house into a monastery. He wanted a penitential vibe. He wanted rules she could touch. He called the third week and asked if she was grounded. I said, from what? He said, from fun. I told him he hadn't put any conditions like that on the guardianship. He said he thought it was implied. I said, nothing is implied when you're asking someone to parent your kid. He said, you're undermining me. I said, you're outsourcing discipline to me and then getting mad I don't use your tools. This is the part where people tell me it's not my kid. You're right. She isn't. She is also not a pawn you slide across the coffee table to save your marriage. If that sentence makes me sound self-righteous, I promise you I'm just tired. I have carried this kid through a grocery store while she's white-hot furious that the hummus Alex bought has the wrong lid because her mom's brand had a yellow lid and this one is green. You try telling someone with a cracked heart to calm down because the chickpea paste is the same. Good luck. I didn't force therapy insights on her. But when she gave me a window, I didn't waste it. One afternoon, we were in traffic, and she was scrolling Instagram and said, she moved my mom's mixing bowls to the top cabinet. She can't even reach them. It's like she wanted to make them annoying so nobody uses them. I said, or she moved them because she doesn't like looking at your mom's handwriting on the shelf label and feeling like a trespasser. Abby stared out the window. Good, she said. She should feel like a trespasser. I said, sweetheart, you do understand everyone's a trespasser in grief. She put her phone down. Is that from your therapist? I said, it's from mine. I bookkeep, remember? I know how to count other people's losses. Here's the thing about Abby. When she thinks you're bullshitting, she will cut you to size. When she thinks you're honest, she will give you a hairline crack of trust. By late July, she'd go to Brenna's office and actually sit forward instead of sinking into the couch like it was quicksand. She drew a chart of her home timeline, before, during, after, and now. In the during column, she wrote Dad's wedding, and under it, I didn't go. I hadn't known that. I thought she just refused to be in photos. She wasn't at the wedding. She watched it on some cousin's TikTok live while eating cereal. That's what she told Brenna, then looked at me like she wanted me to say it was insane to let a kid skip your wedding if you want her to feel included. I didn't take the bait. I said, how did that feel? She said, like I was watching the last seat at a table get taken and my name scraped off the place card. I started to get texts from my brother that read like closing arguments. She has not apologized. She has not shown any remorse. She is talking to her cousins like I'm a bad father. She is damaging my wife's mental health. She's doing fun things without consequence. I answered like a substitute teacher. She is in therapy. We are following the plan. She is seeing you weekly. She is not ready to see T. He wrote back. Her not being ready has become the only thing that matters. I didn't answer that one because it was true, and saying it out loud would be like setting a match to a rope bridge. We had one brutal phone call in August. He'd invited Abby to a barbecue at his in-laws. She said no. He told me, she's punishing me. I said, she doesn't want to sit in a backyard with people who will look at her like she's the one who broke their daughter. He said she did. My voice went dead. She told the truth in the ugliest way she could manage. He said, the ugliest way counts. I said, so does the truth. He said, she said she hopes my wife never carries a pregnancy. Do you know what that did to T? I said, yeah, man, I do. I also know you put a loaded gun in her hands when you said she had to write a card. He said, so it's my fault she's cruel? I said, it's your fault you created a stage for it. He hung up. He called back an hour later and told me he loved me. And I stood in the backyard and put my forehead on the fence and try not to cry because I hate crying and because I love my brother even when I want to throw him into a river. Abby didn't want the world to soften for her. If anything, she wanted the world to be as hard as she felt inside. When school started, I expected drama about supplies or lunch tables. She didn't give me any. She got up at 6, tied her shoes like she was about to run a race, and went. She brought home a chemistry syllabus and said, this guy's gonna hate me. And then she did the labs like she was building bombs. She has a brain like a scalpel. She texted movie on a Friday, and we said yes. She said, Dad asked if I can come by Sunday. Will you drive me? We drove her. She sat on our couch afterwards and said, he told me T was in the bedroom the whole time because my energy is toxic. She said it like she was reading a weather report about a hurricane in another state. I said, how do you feel? She shrugged, happy not to see her. Then she checked my face to see if I'd flinch. I didn't. Sister-in-law texted me once. I don't know how she got my number. She kept it short. I want to talk with Abby when she is ready. I hope you can help her get there. I read it 5 times. I didn't answer because whatever I text back becomes evidence in a trial I don't want to be part of. I showed Abby. She said, delete it. I said, do you want to dictate a response? She said, delete it. I didn't. I archived it. Brenna says not everything has to be resolved in the moment it hurts. One night in September, Abby knocked on our bedroom door at 2 a.m. She sat on the edge of our bed without asking. She was trembling. She said, when my mom was in hospice, Dad used to nap in the chair and I'd watch the hall. Every time a nurse came, I thought it would be the one who said it was time. And after she died, I thought I'd feel relief because I wouldn't have to be on guard anymore. But it never shut off. She curled forward, palms flat on her knees. When T moved in, it got louder, like I had to guard the hall from her. Alex sat up and said, do you want water? Abby shook her head. I want to stop guarding the hall. We stayed awake with her until sunrise. She fell asleep around 5, mouth open, the hard sleep kids do when the storm finally runs out of rain. I don't want to paint sister-in-law as a witch. I've seen her be patient. I watched her fold Abby's laundry with care and leave it outside her door like she didn't want to intrude. I watched her cry quietly in a kitchen so Abby wouldn't see. She signed up to be a stepmom to a girl whose mother had died young. That is not easy. If I were a kinder narrator, I'd spend a paragraph unpacking her pain. But this isn't her story. She gets to tell it if she wants. What I get to tell is that I'd rather a kid be mean to me than polite and dead inside. People will disagree. I'm okay with that. Here's one of the where it got messy incidents that isn't dramatic enough for TV, but says everything. Sunday dinner at our place. We cook, my brother comes, we eat. Abby is quiet but present. We're halfway through when my brother says, like it's nothing, we put the new curtains up in the family room. Abby looks at me because she knows this is a trap. He says, they're similar to the ones your mom picked out, actually. Abby puts her fork down. I can see her wanting to say, no, they're not, because nothing anyone purchases now is allowed to resemble her mother's taste in any way that isn't an insult. Instead, she says, okay. He thinks this is an opening and says, you should come see. She says, no, he says, you can't avoid your home forever. She says, it's not my home. He swears like he just sat on something sharp. I tapped the table twice, our signal to stop before one of us says it the worst way. He keeps going. You're enjoying yourself there. You're going to movies. You're living like what you didn't have fallout. She stares at her plate. I didn't do anything but say what I feel. He says, you said the cruelest thing a person can say to a woman who wants a child. She says, I said the cruelest thing to a person who tried to replace my mother. Silence. He says, you can't compare griefs like that. She says, yes, I can. He says, apologize. She says no. After he left, I sat on the porch with my phone in my lap. Try not to text him a thesis because that's my reflex. Alex sat with me. They said, he wants the world to freeze until she learns her lesson. He wants gravity to be off at her house. He thinks fun is disrespect. I said, he thinks suffering is a teacher he can hire. We watched the street lamp flicker, the way it always does around moths like it's shivering. Abby came out, sat on the step below us, rested her chin on her knees, and said, I know you two talk about me when I'm not in the room. Alex laughed. Yeah, we do. We say things like, did you see the way Abby cut that cilantro? Terrifying. She smirked just a millimeter. Then she said, he's going to hate you for letting me be okay. I said, he's going to hate me until he doesn't. She said, that could be years. I said, I can carry years. I didn't do nothing. That matters to me. The easy version of this story is cool uncle lets kid eat popcorn and gives middle finger to the man. I set boundaries. She told me once that Brenna asked her to write a letter to sister-in-law she wouldn't send. Abby said, I wrote, I hope you leave. I said, okay, that's what you wrote. Now write another letter to your dad, just explaining what the word replace means to you. She did. It was 4 sentences. Replace is when things that were my mom get touched by her hands. Replace is when I hear laughter of theirs where laughter used to be ours. Replace is the smell of fancy detergent in sheets my mom folded. Replace is the word future said in a voice that didn't know the old one. I read it and sat on the floor because sometimes the only correct posture for grief is low. There's a thing about consequence that parents forget. If you want it to work, it has to be connected. If you key your neighbor's car, you pay for the paint, or you get a ticket, or you get community service. If you humiliate your stepmom at her birthday, you don't get to go to the movies with your friends. How are those related? They're not. They're punishment because adults are hurt and want the kid to hurt too. That's human. That's also why punishment doesn't fix a damn thing. What's connected is you don't have free access to the home where the person you won't even be in the same room with lives. What's connected is you don't get to expect your father to call you in the evening because he might be holding his wife while she tries to stop shaking. What's connected is therapy always. We did all of that. We didn't take away fun because fun isn't some bonus level you unlock after you become an emotionally mature adult. Fun keeps people from drowning. My brother kept pushing for a full grounding until she apologizes. I told him, you said nothing about that. You said therapy. He said, it should have been a given. I said, you moved your kid out of her home. That is not a small consequence. He said, she got what she wanted. I said, maybe she did. Maybe she wanted relief from feeling like she had to guard the hallway. That doesn't mean she doesn't miss you. She does. She just wants to miss one person at a time. He said, stop psychoanalyzing me with your therapist lines. I said, I will when you stop parenting with a ledger. We circled like that for weeks. Some days he heard me. Some days I could feel him getting advice from people who don't like me. He's enabling her. He always defends her. He never wanted you to remarry. He wants to be the hero. For the record, I wanted my brother to be happy. I wanted him to have a second life after the first one broke apart. I just didn't want him to outsource the bill to his kid. There were blow-ups at our house too. I took her phone one night not because I'm a tyrant, but because she texted a friend, if he keeps pushing me, I'll run. I told her, you can't throw that word around. She said, I didn't mean it. I said, I don't care. You put me in a position where I have to imagine you not being safe. She screamed. She cried. She told me I was just like him. I said, you are allowed to be furious at me. You're not allowed to threaten to disappear. She slammed the bathroom door. I sat on the floor outside and counted my breaths like I was at the doctor. She came out an hour later with a wet face and handed me a sticky note that said, I didn't mean run as in run away. I gave her the phone back and told her, you're not allowed to walk around saying bomb at the airport, and you're not allowed to say run when your guardians are trying to keep you intact. She rolled her eyes, but she stopped doing it. Brenna asked to meet me alone one session. She said, you need to be prepared for the fact that your brother might equate Abby's wellness with his marriage's failure. That's a false correlation, but it's emotionally real to him. I said, so what do I do? She said, you keep caring for Abby without turning your brother into the villain every time you tell the story. You let him be a person failing in public. You tell him he can love his wife and love his child, and also take a time out from putting them in the same room. And you tell Abby the same. It sounded like the kind of advice made of air until I started trying to follow it. Then it was hard like a brick. At the end of September, my brother showed up with a box. Her winter clothes, he said. He didn't come in right away. He stood on the porch. His face looked worn down. He said, "I keep waiting for the apology and it keeps not happening. Maybe I made that a condition in my head because it's something I can measure." I said nothing. He said, "T is not okay." I said, "I know." He said, "I also know my kid is not okay." He looked at me like he wanted me to tell him which emergency to put out first. I said, "Then stop starting more fires." He almost laughed. "You always talk like that." He handed me the box and turned to go. I said, "Do you want to see her?" He said, "Is she home?" She was. She'd been in the kitchen, frozen as soon as she heard his voice on the porch. I said yes. He came in. He hugged her. She hugged back this time a little. He said, "I still need that apology." She said, "I know." He said, "I love you." She said nothing. After he left, she opened the box. There was a sweater on top, one her mom had knitted. She pressed it to her face like she was checking if the smell survived the move. It didn't. She put it in the drawer anyway. People will ask about the infertility comment because it's the line that makes their blood jump. I get it. When Abby said she was glad they couldn't have kids and hoped every pregnancy failed, it felt like the room dropped to the floor. I grabbed the edge of the table because I needed to hold on to something. I looked at sister-in-law's face and I saw a person get hit in the chest. There is no justification for that sentence. There is context. Abby is a 15-year-old who thinks the universe is a machine that swaps out parts. If there's another baby in the house, she will be replaced. She went for the cruelest possible wish to make the machine break. That's not okay. It's also not a measurable evil like hitting someone or stealing. It lives in a Messier category, words that slice and then echo. You can ground a kid for words. You can also teach them why their words land like bricks. We're choosing the second because our therapist says the first teaches kids to hide the sharp things in private instead of sanding them down. So yes, Abby has been going to movies. She has spent time with friends. She has painted a wall and chopped cilantro and sung in the shower and posted dumb videos with her friend in a parking lot. She has also cried in the laundry room because she smelled Alex's detergent on her sweatshirt and wanted to smell her mom's detergent instead. She has told her father no so many times it pooled around her like rain. She has not apologized. She has not expressed regret. She has not wanted to see sister-in-law and is happy not to live with her. She has seen my brother once or twice a week. I have not put her on a monastery schedule or taken away joy like it's a privilege you earn by being palatable. My brother keeps saying she got her way. He means she got out from under his roof. I mean, she got out from under a situation where every dinner felt like a hostage negotiation between grief and newness. He has told me she doesn't deserve to have a fun life until she apologizes. That sentence lives in my head like a splinter. Not because I think he's a monster, because I recognize myself in it. I've thought stupid shit like that when I've been hurt. You hurt me, so you should hurt too. The difference between thinking it and making it a rule for your kid is the entire difference between being a person and being a parent. He came by last week, and we sat at the table, and he said, "Just tell me I'm not crazy to want an apology." I said, "You're not crazy. You're hurt." He said, "So where does that leave us?" I said, "It leaves Abby here for as long as she needs. It leaves therapy as the non-negotiable. It leaves visits with you without tea for now. It leaves me not forcing an apology you can put on a shelf like a trophy." He said, "So I'm just supposed to wait?" I said, "You're supposed to live with your wife, love your kid, and let time do the thing it does when you stop trying to choke it." He looked at the wall she painted. He said, "It's a good color." I said, "Yeah." He's grumbling to me now that Abby isn't restricted from having fun, that we let her spend time with friends, go to the movies, be a teenager. He told me she should be on full grounding until she apologizes, and especially now that she got her way and doesn't have to be around his wife. He said he thought it was a given. I told him he said nothing about that, only that she needed therapy, which she has, And I told him Brenna said you could ground her for 20 years, if that was even possible, and still not get what he wants, because remorse you wring out of the kid to make adults feel better isn't remorse, it's compliance. He said she doesn't deserve to have a fun life, and I should agree with that. I don't. I'm not asking for a parade. I am asking whether I'm missing something huge because I'm close to it. Am I being an indulgent idiot who's going to raise a girl who thinks cruelty is a valid tactic as long as she can explain the origin? Or am I the only person in this triangle actually doing what the professionals tell you to do when a kid is grieving? Provide structure, provide therapy, don't make love conditional on performing forgiveness? I can hear the chorus, both. Love is noisy like that. I keep thinking about the moment after her birthday, the way Abby folded the card. She made it tiny, like she wanted to shove it into a pocket and pretend it wasn't there. She left it in front of sister-in-law's plate instead. We all stared at it like it might explode. Maybe it did. Maybe that was the bang and everything since has been shrapnel. Maybe my job is to help the kid pick out the pieces without telling her she's evil for exploding. Maybe my brother's job is to stop standing over her with a broom, yelling that she better clean every shard before she can watch a movie again. Maybe sister-in-law's job is to hurt where she hurts without demanding a 15-year-old make it stop. I know I'm not objective. I'm the one she texted when she couldn't breathe the day after the move. I'm the one who picked her up from a friend's house when a girl made a joke about new mom who dis and she wanted to punch someone. I'm the one who watched her try on the sweater her mom knitted and then take it off because it made her skin feel like paper. I'm the one who heard her say at 2 a.m. that she's tired of guarding hallways. You don't get that close to a kid and then turn around and say, no concerts, no movies, no joy, because you want to pry an apology out of her like a jewel from a rock. My brother wants a timeline. I can't give him one. Brenna won't either. I told him this is grief's worst trick. It makes you think time is a tool you can use. It isn't. It's a field you walk across, and something grows if you stop stomping on it. He hates that. I hate it sometimes too, but hating it doesn't make it untrue. So here's where I'm at. Abby lives with us legally. She sees her dad once or twice a week. She does not see sister-in-law. She has not apologized. She is in therapy. She goes to movies. She does normal 15-year-old things because normal is a life raft. My brother thinks I'm letting her off easy and that I'm rewarding cruelty. I think I'm keeping her alive and teaching her to speak without drawing blood, not by taking away her Friday nights, but by making her sit with the reasons the words came out like knives in the first place. Maybe both of us are right. Maybe only one of us is. I don't know. That's why I'm asking a bunch of strangers who don't have to smell our detergent or sit at our table. Am I the asshole?